What is going on, SixPackAbs.com? It's Thomas Lauer, your lead nutritionist, and today I want to talk about true detoxing. Does the body have the ability to detox, or do we need to add detoxing measures into our life from exogenous sources? Now, I'm the creator of the science-based six-pack program, which is the world's leading intermittent fasting program. You can see it down below. And fasting, quite honestly, is one of the most powerful ways to detox. But today I want to talk about leveraging some other components of the world. I'm talking natural components that can actually help you get a little bit more in the way of detoxing. But first and foremost, let me be honest here. Our bodies come pre-equipped with the ability to detox, okay? We have things like glutathione, we have cells and antioxidants that are there specifically to help us detox. But sometimes we need a little extra help. You see, what we have to factor in is we are consuming so many different things. We're consuming so many heavy metals. We're breathing in pollutants. We're taking in all kinds of chemicals all the time. This is more than our body is accustomed to handling. But today I want to focus on one particular thing. I want to focus on heavy metal detoxing. You see, heavy metals come in through a variety of different ways, but predominantly they come in through eating a lot of seafood. Okay, we're consuming a lot of things like mercury, we're consuming a lot of things like lead, and then of course we even consume too much in the way of things like iron, which may not seem like a heavy metal, but when we have a lot of it, it acts like a heavy metal in the body. Now the thing is with these heavy metals, when we think about it, it's actually quite logical. They're heavy, they're hard to remove. They sit in the cell and they're very, very hard to excrete. Or they sit in other areas and soft tissues of our body that make it very hard for our body's natural abilities to truly get rid of them. And that's just the thing. We have a small finite amount of ability to actually get rid of these heavy metals. Anything above and beyond the amount that we can naturally process, we need a little extra help. And that's exactly where something known as chlorella comes in. And I want to focus on that a little bit today. But chlorella comes from algae, and it comes from algae that's from a freshwater source. So get this, when you think about omega-3s and you think about the nutritional value of, say, seafood, fish, right? We always think about the omega-3s that are in fish. I want you to think about something. Fish aren't naturally born with omega-3. It's not like they just are given this DNA that gives them a lot of omega-3. They get it from something. They get it from algae. So the algae has a high amount of omega-3. The algae has a high nutritional value. That's why whenever you hear about eating fish for omega-3 components, you should be focusing on eating smaller fish, sardines, anchovies, things like that, because they're the ones that are eating the algae. And as you get further up the food chain into things like swordfish and tuna and larger fish, well, you don't have nearly as much of the omega-3 and the nutritional components, simply because you're going up the food chain. So if we go straight to the source, it's the best, which means go to algae. So algae is going to have a higher amount of omega-3, but it's also going to have higher amounts of other nutritional compounds that are really powerful. In this particular case, chlorella. You see, chlorella is extremely powerful and is pretty darn unique to freshwater algae. Freshwater algae contains a lot less of the negative compounds that are in saltwater algae. Saltwater algae ends up getting a lot more of the heavy metals, it gets a lot more of the radiation, it gets a lot more of the pollutants that go into the ocean. Freshwater is a little bit more controlled. But what chlorella does is it adds additional molecules that allow your body to bind with those actual heavy metals. See, heavy metals have to be what is called chelated. Chelation simply means the binding of certain molecules to these heavy metals in order for the body to actually process and excrete them. So since chlorella has these molecules, it gives our body a natural ability to detox a lot more effectively. And there are a lot of studies that have proven that. There have been studies on mice and humans that prove that chlorella does help get rid of mercury. So that's something really, really powerful when it comes down to trying to just cleanse our body and get in the best possible shape. But it doesn't just stop at overall heavy metals. There's actually something that we have to be aware of too, known as neurotoxins. You see, neurotoxins come into our body from a variety of different ways. We breathe in a lot of pollutants again, but also whenever we consume a lot of artificial sweeteners, we have xenotoxins and all kinds of neurotoxins that accumulate in our bowel and in our brain. And you may be wondering, well, what does the accumulation of toxins in our bowel have to do with anything? Well, if we have a lot of toxins in our bowel, it inhibits the body's ability to actually chelate the heavy metals that store there. So if we get rid of those neurotoxins, we get rid of the bad bacteria, and we now allow the body to have the ability to get rid of the heavy metals a lot easier. And in the brain, it's pretty obvious. We don't want heavy metals in the brain. We don't want neurotoxins in the brain because it slows down the way that we think. So believe it or not, chlorella actually helps get rid of those neurotoxins too. So when we get rid of the neurotoxins and the heavy metals, we're in a lot better of a situation to start feeling and looking our best. So how do you use chlorella? Well, there's a couple of different ways. You see, chlorella helps mobilize those heavy metals. So it doesn't just get rid of them, it actually gets them out of the cells, out of the system, and into the gut where they can be chelated. So there's a few different ways. The first way is to take chlorella with meals. because it's actually going to stop the absorption of heavy metals. So whenever you're having seafood or whenever you're having something that might have some heavy metals, you want to consume some chlorella with it because it's going to slow down the absorption and prevent it from ever happening in the first place. But you can also take it on an empty stomach to help eliminate some of the heavy metals and the neurotoxins that are in your gut. That's a really powerful way. Then if you take it before bed, you can help eliminate some of the neurotoxins that are in your brain. Because believe it or not, you actually get quite a bit of good blood flow to the brain early on in your sleep cycle. Therefore, you're going to get a lot more of that chlorella going into your brain and actually allowing the proper chelation of the heavy metals and the neurotoxins. So as always, SixPackAbs.com. Make sure you're keeping it locked in here on Six Pack Abs. And as always, let us know if there's any other videos that you want to see in the future so that we can create them. We'll see you soon.